And here we go. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So now, guys, the battle between the African region and the West over gay laws. So that continues. The battle between the African region and the West over gay laws continue. So at the forefront of that battle are East African countries. So countries like Kenya, countries like Uganda, etc. So you all know the countries. But in this instance, we're looking at Uganda, who have passed even more draconian, or is it draconian even? It depends on how you're looking at it or who is looking at it. But they further deepened their LGBTQ position. So I'm not going to say it's an anti-LGBTQ position because that will be a subjective political opinion. But let's listen to what they have done in Uganda and how the West is reacting to it. So watch this.
Uganda's parliament has passed a bill which would criminalise people who identify as LGBTQ, with those found guilty facing up to 10 years in prison. Under the proposed legislation, friends, family and members of the community would have a duty to report individuals in same-sex relationships to the authorities. Homosexual acts are already illegal in the East African country, but the bill seeks to go further and criminalise people on the basis of their sexual identity. The bill passed with widespread support in Uganda's parliament.
In our country, we will have our morals, we will protect our children, and we are making this law. We are making this law for ourselves, we are making this law for our children, we are making this law for the children of our children.
All right, let me just pause it there for a moment. There's quite something quite ironic about what is going on at the moment, because a lot of these LGBTQ positions that some African countries are adopting is based on religion. So it is based on religion, and a lot of it based on Christianity. Now, Christianity, a religion that is alien and foreign to the African continent, and was essentially brought in by the Europeans as a tool of colonization. So now they've now embedded that religion into the consciousness and spirituality of the African space. So within that religion, these people are now picking laws. These people, by that I mean, of course, the Africans. I'm African too. I'm Nigerian. So from that religious thing that they brought in, the African region are now picking laws as statutes to guide their society. So now, within that religiosity, they've now picked on this anti-gay sentimentality, and now they are now instituting it in law. But now the West that brought this religion to us are now recoiling against what their own religion prescribes. So you can see the hypocrisy, but more to it, you can see the irony. But let's listen on.
This country will stand firm. And once it passed, I can tell you, Madam Speaker, we are going to reinforce the law enforcement officers to make sure that homosexuals have no space in Uganda.
So there it is. They are going to reinforce it. It's like on some sort of a vigilante system that they're embedding into law. Some mob action they're embedding into law in Uganda. Because if you heard what that parliamentarian just said, they are going to invite friends and families and people that are associated within the quarters of whoever is LGBTQ to report that person to the authority. So it's like a vigilante, it's like a mass national vigilante movement. And of course, that's always subject to abuse. But let's see what the BBC is making of it. Let's listen on.
We're joined now by Oriam Nyeko, who is a researcher at the Human Rights Watch Africa Division. Really good to have you with us, and thank you for joining.
Oh, all right. I don't know what this guy is going to say, but you can pretty much predict what he is going to say. So when you see people like this, you have to form the thought that there are sponsored head. So there are sponsored head there to say what their paymasters are invites them to say or think. So why am I saying that? So you already look at his presentation, is clearly somewhere in Europe, almost certainly in England. They say it's a research fellow in XYZ, which is to say that he's got some sort of a sponsored program, almost certainly by England, to do some sort of obscure research in whatever thing. So he has all of that backing by that state. So now when they invite him now, they present him as an African to you. So to then tell you that, no, this is not the West or this is not the white person weighing against this position adopted by Uganda. This is one of their own speaking. But he's one of their own, only in color and nothing else. I think they call this sort of a person an Oreo or a coconut. But let's listen on.
Joining us on BBC News. Can you tell us a little bit more about what this draft legislation does, what it will change?
So the current law in Uganda basically prohibits same-sex acts. It's been in the law for decades. It was inherited from the British and really hasn't been implemented.
And there it is. Quite interesting what he just said there. The statutes within the Ugandan books, which they are evolving even further, is actually a colonial relic. So it's a colonial relic. It was inherited from the laws passed on by the British when they were the colonial interlopers of that space. So the laws that they brought in to govern that space is where this law is now evolving from. So do you now see the hypocrisy deepens? The hypocrisy, it deepens.
So what the legislators now are wanting to do with this new bill is to criminalize homosexuality as a whole, to make it such that any person that has sex with somebody of the same sex commits a criminal offense, as well as anybody who, in their words, promotes homosexuality also commits a criminal offense. So they're wanting to really ensure that anybody that's affiliated with homosexuality is punished by the law.
So this will have serious implications, won't it, for any members of the LGBTQ plus community in Uganda?
Certainly. I mean,
and by the way, the act of same-sex coupling is quite a natural phenomenon. We have to concede that, because you even see it within the animal kingdom. So if you see it within the animal kingdom, then it tells you that it's something that is innate within being. So it is innate within being. So, and the position that some people adopt, especially in this instance of Uganda, not especially, but citing this instance of Uganda, the position being adopted is actually a position of religion rather than a position of biology or medicine or anything. So it's a position of religion and morality. So that's the position that they're adopting. But then you can also question maybe the morality of it. If it's something that is innate and instinctual, then how can it be morally repugnant? So there's a lot of conversation to be had around that space, but that conversation has to be had internally within the African continent in order to then conclude if the continent wants to evolve into an acceptability of same-sex coupling. So that's a conversation that the African space has to open up, but it's not certainly one that can or has to or should be foisted upon them by colonial interlopers who feel that they can weigh upon you in whichever manner they deem fit. So that's where the real argument is. So this is where the push is. So the same-sex coupling is in and of itself a conversation that sits to one side that the Africans have to and it's not something that you have to understand that the African continent, especially Black Africa, is an ultra conservative sort of a country, community, people, etc. So they're ultra conservative. So for them to even move in that direction, there has to be a lot of hurdles that has to be passed through. So there's a societal reorientation, spiritual reorientation, a generational passover. So a lot of things have to happen for this even to be considered, but it has to be done at the pace of the Africans and not an imposition weighed down from people who consider themselves to be high above. But let's listen a bit more and then we round it up.
Idea, the notion that somebody should go to prison because they've had consensual sex with somebody who is an adult is, can have, wide-ranging impacts. Not just the fact that it's now going to be a criminal offense, but the fact that what is essentially doing is endorsing homophobia. It's the government would say that it's.
All right. I think I'm happy to leave it there because you know the direction of travel that that guy is embarked upon. So you know the direction of travel that he is embarked upon. It's a talking head, like I said, at a sponsored talking head as well. So he's only going to really say what his paymasters are. Maybe not have invited him to say, but he knows they want to hear. And you can hear in his tone and texture where he said it. But really, is this now ongoing battle between the West and I wouldn't even say the African region, but especially the East African region around this LGBTQ narrative? So the Africans, they're now digging their heels in, is what we're saying, because we've seen Kenyatta have this conversation with the West. We've seen Museveni have this conversation with the West, all wrapped around this thing, the LGBTQ space. Now the Ugandans are doubling down and even passing more draconian positions around this narrative. So I don't think they especially care about the LGBTQ thing. And I'm pretty sure a lot of those people in parliament raging and blowharding, a lot of those people in the Ugandan parliament are blowharding. A lot of them are probably same gender relationship type. A lot of them are probably gay or bi. You have to consider that. But really, hold on. But really, the greater point is that the African continent is recoiling against this colonial imperialism. Is essentially what is coming through. So that's what came through there for me. But what did you make of that? Come share thoughts about all this with come share thoughts rather about all this with me in the comment section. So I'll leave it here before I start to ramble. I'll leave it here. Carry the conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.